This is a dangerous groups that we're dealing with now. This is a dangerous groups that we're dealing with now. This is a dangerous groups that we're dealing with now. dangerous groups that we're dealing with now. This is a dangerous groups that we're dealing with now.
Pete Rose.
Pete Rose. Welcome to the K-Gun Report, guys. 24/7 Buf Fandemonium. It's the week after the Chargers win, and we get to play the San Francisco 49ers on Monday. We got a lot to discuss. A win's a win. We won ugly, but we won confidently, and now we've got a tough 49ers team that apparently we're playing in Arizona this week on Monday Night Football, and that game is still on as far as I know. We have a special guest today. Down below us is Dan Alongi, a huge 49ers fan, but he's also a Bills fan. He'll be talking to us about the Buffalo Bills. Jarrod will join us in a little bit, but to the side over here is Swank.
Yep.
And then, like I said, down below is Mr. Dan Alongi. So, Dan, real quick, tell us why you're a 49ers fan up here living in New York.
My father was a 49ers fan. So, he's my late father. Tomorrow will be 5 years since he passed. So, kind of grew up in 49ers, fan era of the 80s when they were dominating everybody. And then the early 90s when it was the 49ers, the Cowboys, and the Bills. They were dominating the league. So, my earliest memory of the 49ers, I would say, is everybody asked me, "Oh, you're a big Joe Montana fan, this and that." And, the earliest I remember Joe Montana is he came back on a Monday Night Football game in the second half from a back injury. And he was already kind of supplanted by Steve Young. So don't have much memory of Joe Montana, but Jerry Rice was the man. Still is.
So I see the jersey in the background. Was he your favorite player?
Yeah, absolutely.
There you go. That's not a bad Hall of Famer to be a fan of.
No.
So we'll talk about the Niners here in a little bit, but first we're going to discuss this Chargers game. The Bills jumped on them pretty quick, established a run game from what we all saw. They actually ran the ball more than they passed the ball for the first time this year. Had a couple turnovers, but the difference from past teams that we've noticed this year is that we had a lead and we kept it, and even with the struggling fumbles, the turnovers at times, we kind of didn't give that lead up. And that's something new for Bills fans. And we had a lot of people complaining, of course. Here we go again, but we held our own. We ran the ball more than we passed. We scored more points, obviously. We came out with the win. Swank, is there anything about the game that jumped out at you?
Yeah, I think our defense, for sure. I was super impressed with a couple pieces that you really haven't heard their names a lot. And, of course, everybody's on the A.J. Klein wagon right now because he's had a hot 3 games, and that's awesome. I'm glad that he's producing for us. I don't think I quite buy into the book or am drinking the Klein Kool-Aid yet, but I think he's doing his thing. If he's playing well, like we were saying earlier, like compared to the first half of the year, if he makes like 2 plays, he's doing amazing. So
right.
I'm glad that he's turned it around, and hopefully it improves going forward. But I'm done with this whole bench Milano for Klein talk and all this ridiculousness that's been going on this week.
How quickly that turned around, right?
Yeah,
Everybody was on Klein's back the last 2 weeks, and then last week happens, 14 tackles, 1.5 sacks, a couple tackles for losses in the pass defense. Well, now they're all about him playing and not Milano.
It's the same knee-jerks that were talking about, wanting his head when he was, blowing coverages, which he's still doing. But, now they're saying that he should spell Edmonds and, get his playing time because he's the hot hand. Rotate him in and give him his plays. But, I still want Milano out there. instead of Klein. But he played a good game. Epinesa, man, like whenever that dude's on the field, he is hustling. And McDermott was talking about how his IQ, McDermott and Frazier were talking about his like football IQ, the speed that he's reading the game at, all that stuff is escalated very nicely throughout his rookie season. And man, every time he's out there, he's getting in the backfield and he's making a play or two a game. So hopefully that continues to trend upwards. I like that a lot. You know, the run game was huge. I know everybody really wanted the run game to be established. I've been talking about how I don't care about that because this team's not built for that. I don't think that they're a team that can't run. I just think they're a team that doesn't run. And I think the New England game in this last week proved that. That and Zach Moss, man, he's getting very comfortable on the field, and I think he's going to be a wrecking ball. So that's what I took away.
Dan, were you able to watch the Bills game at all or watch highlights of the Bills-Chargers game?
Yeah, I watched some of it. I didn't watch all of it. I guess the one thing I wanted to add is that as a individual that's not a primarily huge Bills fan, for you guys, I think you guys should be really excited because this year and majority of last year, I mean traditionally over the last 10, 15 years, that's a game they used to always lose.
Yeah.
And with all the turnovers,
Mm-hmm.
not playing, the best game, but it was a game they were supposed to win. And that's what they're doing this year. Majority of these games that they're supposed to win, they're winning. And that's what you need to do.
Yep, exactly. And the big thing about beating the Chargers is, they had a poor record, but their offense is a potent offense. They've gotten to be on the wrong end of the scoreboard in a lot of these close games, and their record does not show how good this team really is. Herbert's impressive. He's a guy that stays in the pocket. Bill's got plenty of pressure on him. They only got 3 sacks out of the deal, I think, but they had a hand on him the whole time, the whole game it seemed like. And something that Swank always talks about is when you put a helmet on any of these quarterbacks, even if it's that low, high hit that I forgot who tackled him. It was Oliver, and the safety came in, and they high-load him. But, you take a couple hits like that, you're going to get flustered a little bit, and a couple turnovers followed that. But the defense is showing up. I think you're right, Swank. The Patriots game and the Chargers game, the defense, I think we're finally starting to see how potent our defense can be. And to go back with that Klein Milano thing, a lot of people don't forget that Milano and Edmonds were hurt those first couple of games when our offense, our defense was doing poor. Now, with the chance of Milano coming back and being as healthy as we think he is, you have to play Milano over Klein.
Yeah, 100%.
I know earlier this week we put out a Saturday night conversation, and it included Mr. Gabriel Davis with John Brown being injured. The post said, do you think he'll get under or over 100 yards receiving? Majority of people said he'd get over. Surprisingly, he only had 3 catches for 76 yards, but he performed when he had to. And that big fourth quarter, 10 minutes left, deep pass down the sideline from Allen to him, that was a crazy catch. Yeah. And we'd rather have clutch like that over that 100 yards, I believe. Do you think we're going to be missing John Brown for 3 weeks, Swank? Do you think the offense will struggle, or do you think, Allen only had 150 passing yards. What do you think is going to happen?
I think that this game plan was run first, primarily. So I don't know if that in part was because John Brown was hurt, or it was mostly because they wanted to establish a run game, and the Chargers were the team to try that out against. I think the wide receiving core is better when John Brown's on the field, 100%. You're talking about a guy that people didn't want to believe was a number 1 receiver last year that had over 1,000 yards. And for the Bills in the state they were in last year, for all intents and purposes, he was a number 1. And now you bring in Stephon Diggs. And when JB's healthy, everybody flourishes between Diggs and him and Bees, the same way we've been talking about all year since that signing. So, yeah, struggle, I don't know if that's the word I would use. I don't think they're going to be as good as they would be with JB, but I also think Gabe Davis is for real. He's coming into his own. I like his attitude a lot, man. Like that touchdown pass he could have went nuts, out of control, celebrated his mind out, and he just, jogged over the sideline, did his thing, and then even with that big catch, it was hand the ball off, get back in the huddle, go to the next play, and I think it looks like he believes he has more to prove than just a game or a season even. So
right.
I think he'll be an okay replacement for the time being. I think the experience he's getting on the field right now is huge. But I think that opening up against the Niners and that kind of stuff, I think you're going to see some more passing yards this week. Sorry, Danny. I think they're going to pass for a little bit more than 150 this week, and you might see Bees and Diggs get a couple more catches.
Right. And speaking of Gabriel Davis, I know the 49ers, they had their rookie wide receiver, Eric. He's injured now, isn't he, Danny?
Ayuk?
Ayuk?
No, he was on the COVID list, and he just came off today.
He just came off it today. Okay.
Yep, so he'll be available.
All right. We're going to go to the Niners game really quick here, but I want to talk about the Swank. You mentioned the celebrating after the catches and all that stuff. How about Josh Allen's celebration and Zach Moss's celebration? Danny, I don't know if you saw, but Josh Allen got tackled, and he stood up and spun the ball, and he got flagged for 15-yard unsportsmanlike conduct. Later in the game, Zach Moss, as soon as he popped up after tackle out of bounds, he threw the ball behind him, and they tagged him for 15-yard unsportsmanlike conduct. His poor officiating, I believe, those kind of things are uncalled for. I know the Niners are at a 5-6 record. Are you seeing any of those kind of calls going for the Niners or against the Niners this year? Those BS, trying to keep the other team in the game kind of calls?
I don't really think so. I mean, that's I know where you're getting at. I, for the most part, like to try to keep an open mind and say that these officials are trying to, follow the rules, but there's a time and a place. You know what I mean? I get what you're saying though. There's in terms of like the rules and stuff, there used to seem to be more of a loose interpretation, so to speak, of the rules. But I think to your point, I think a lot of this actually changed a couple of years ago when they went that season where you could review pass interference. I think that the officials union actually really pushed back on that. And I think you actually, to your point, I think you see a lot more of that. I don't think I've seen that necessarily, specifically during 49ers games, but I mean, you see it every week. So,
yeah, that call against Allen, Jake was just saying it in the comments too. That was the right call. I mean, he did it. It's out of his personality, I think, to do that kind of thing. But there was like a little soundbite. They had McDermott mic'd up afterwards, and he asked for an explanation from the ref. And he was like, "What'd he do? Did he like throw it at him or something?" And he's like, "Well, he like spun it right in his face." Like the ref said that to McDermott. And McDermott's like, "Well, he's a good kid." And they're like, "Oh no, we loved it." Like, we loved his passion, we loved it. It's fine, we just can't do it. So then he goes over to Allen and he's like, "Hey, I'm just talking to you because if you get one more of those, you're out." Right. But, and Allen's like, "Okay." And he goes, "But hey, I love the swagger, baby. Like, keep it going, blah, blah." It's like, if you have that kind of like, culture and the process and all that stuff, you have that with your team and the respect. Like, he wants those guys to show emotion and get out there and play their game, but he wants the fundamentals first. So if you get caught up in it a little bit and you do it and because you love the game, then I think he's fine. As far as like these kind of calls, I think the Zach Moss one was complete bullshit. Like that. I don't know. They say that like he was throwing it at the guy behind him or something. I don't know. After the Josh one, when you didn't really know what was going on, and then you see it and you're like, "Oh, okay," but then Zach does it and you're like, "What's going on?" Like, I haven't heard of anybody getting these calls like this year yet, No. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
The officiating overall, I thought was kind of funny. Like, they picked up a lot of flags, and then I don't know if you saw this, Danny, but like at one point he was going to make a call, and two Chargers walked in front of him, and he was just like, "Excuse me." Like on the microphone, like when they walked by him, and he like did the holding call or whatever it was, but it was super funny. Like, excuse me.
Excuse me, I'm working here.
Yeah, it's funny. No, it's funny that you bring that up, and I'll tell you what is even going back to when we played sports, it was high school and college and stuff like that, or even watching sports, whether it's football, basketball, baseball. My biggest pet peeve was, just be consistent.
Yeah.
Be consistent at the start of the game all the way through, and
Absolutely.
I think that's where everybody gets upset. I don't think I've seen it. I don't know. It's kind of weird. It's like I don't know if I want to say I haven't seen it as much this year, but you do still see it. Where a lot of times, they say they don't, but when you have a crowd involved and it's a home game, that factors in every sport. So
Sure.
it's just kind of interesting. And I do like the fact that guys bring up, they say like, when you're actually the people, the limited amount of people that are actually at these games, they claim it's like a high school game.
Yeah.
So these referees can actually hear what everybody's saying, on the sidelines and stuff like that. So, it'd be interesting if, hopefully they got like NFL films or whatever recording like throughout this year to like hear some stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
They're gonna get a lot to take away this year without the crowd.
Yeah, but they brought that point up and said there's a lot of officials can hear clear as day what these people are yelling at them and stuff. So, you wonder if that's kind of a driving force between all this, BS calls towards the end of games and stuff.
Yeah,
I'm sure they're getting
be.
heckled pretty good. So let's go to the 49ers game. Our 8-3 Buffalo Bills are playing the 5-6 49ers. It's a Monday night game. We got a primetime game. Exciting. It was a scary situation there for a little bit when the NFL was telling us that San Francisco couldn't host the game. But they quickly resolved that, and now they're allowing us to play in Arizona. Not sure if they're going to allow fans there or not. Swank and I were talking about it earlier before the show started, and it would make sense not to let fans travel because obviously that area is banned. Why would they allow banned people to show up to this game? But nonetheless, it's a Monday night football game. That's exciting. It's prime time. Get some recognition. We like to ask what us as Bills fans are concerned about when it comes to the 49ers. But since we got a 49ers guest here, Dan, I'm going to ask you, what concerns you about the Buffalo Bills with your 49ers?
I think their individual talent. I think they got a couple guys on offense that have the ability to, really carry them in key moments. They don't have to necessarily rely on one single person. They got multiple, threats. I could see where this will come down to, a couple key plays in the fourth quarter, late in the game. And, and I'll tell you what, Josh Allen, he's athletic enough that, with his running ability, he's always a threat. So
you're putting it right on the offense, and you think the offense is the biggest concern
I do.
for the Niners fans, yeah.
I do. And, we talked about it earlier today or this evening that, the 49ers, the way they are right now, especially with injuries, is that, the biggest threat is if the Bills get up early, I mean, the game's over. You saw it this year against the Dolphins. It's just you saw it even earlier this year, beginning of the season against the Arizona Cardinals. It's just one of those things. They're just their offense right now with all the injuries. They're not built to make all these big plays. They got Mullins as the backup. Even if Garoppolo was healthy, he's a good quarterback. He's not great. He's not Aaron Rodgers. He's not Pat Mahomes. You know what I mean? They don't have George Kittle, which is absolutely huge. He's just a problem for anybody on the field. So, I mean.
But Jordan Reed's a backup tight end. He has potential. He's always been a decent tight end.
If
he's not what he used to be in Washington, but, I mean, he's got to be healthy too, right?
But, yeah, I mean, I think it's the Bills' offense because, like I said, if they get up early, it's problems. Yeah.
And Swank and I, as Bills fans, will agree with you. I think you guys should be nervous about our offense.
Don't talk for me.
You guys have been riddled with injuries. Obviously, you mentioned Garoppolo, Kittle. A couple of your running backs, Tevin Coleman is hurt. Tevin Coleman. A couple of wide receivers are injured too, but your defense is banged up pretty bad too. With all these injuries, Swank, is there anything about the 49ers that kind of makes you nervous for Monday? Would you consider this kind of like a trap game? Their record is 5-6. They're still in the hunt for the playoffs in the NFC, but you got to be concerned about something. What on the 49ers scares you?
I think I wouldn't call it a trap game. because I think they're still very much in the mix, especially like sweeping the Rams this year. There's still a lot of fight in this team, and I think that's
the Rams are no joke.
yeah, which yeah, I'm back and forth about them. Like I think they could be better. I think they could be better. You know what I mean? I think they could be better coached, but regardless, it doesn't matter. And also, Goff is kind of a douche, but I think overall there's just like this underlying need for them to like fight. I think that kind of team is dangerous. You can't walk in there with the attitude that like they're banged up, they don't have their starting quarterback. Like this is a very Billsy kind of setup right now, where you could like, the location gets changed. You go back to Arizona. There's all those feelings left over from the Hail Murray bullshit and whatever. There's a lot on this stage that could go right for the Bills, and that's what makes me so worried that something could go wrong. I think they're a good team. I think they're coached well. It's the things that'll surprise you. I'm afraid of their running game. I'm really afraid of San Fran's running game, and especially the way that the Bills have defended the run this year. They're tightening up, but that's probably the thing that scares me the most.
I mean, and the run game basically carried them the last couple of years. They are missing a couple key factors in that run game, but like Dan, we talked before the show started, they run that zone offense, that zone run scheme. And if you got a running back that's confident in finding that gap and taking off, then it could be a successful run game. The 49ers have a good offensive line, so that could potentially be something we should be nervous about, especially since previous games we've shown that we can't stop the run at points of the game. Tennessee, Kansas City. But with our defense coming around, who knows? Milano might be coming back. It might be a whole different game with a healthy Milano Evans, like you touched on before. Me personally, I wrote down trap game, but I agree with you, Swank. I think the Niners are still in the hunt. They're a good team. A trap game would indicate that they're a bad team they're playing against. Alongi, is Deebo Samuel still playing? He's not injured, right? I think he's someone that you have to be concerned about, and Ayuk as well. I thought he was injured, but that rookie wide receiver and Deebo Samuel plays that he can catch the screen and head downfield. He's one of those tough wide receivers that can do pretty much anything. I mean, I think of Golden Tate when I think of Samuel. I think of a Hines Ward when I think of Samuel. So he's someone that can kind of do it all. The blessing is that they don't have Kittle. That would have been my biggest concern. And I agree with Alongi when he says if the Bills can get a head start, I don't think the Niners have the offense to kind of pull it back. And their defense is stout. They've been able to substitute people when they were healthy. Now they still have a healthy defense, but they won't be able to substitute quite as well. But that defense is tough. I mean, I think they're ranked 7th overall for a banged up defense. That's pretty darn good. So I would have to say that would be my biggest concern.
Danny, do you think with the way the Niners defense is set up, do they have the ability to take away Diggs and still get pressure on Allen? Like, can they double Diggs and still get pressure on him?
Yeah, I think so. I think this might actually, even with all these replacements, this is probably going to be one of the fastest, if not fastest, defense that the Bills are going to see. I'm not going to sit here and say that they're going to be the best defense. I think one thing that you guys should really pay attention to is that last week Richard Sherman came back. He's getting older, but when you see Richard Sherman in there, your secondary, the Bills should be thinking, they're going to be in a zone coverage. He's a Hall of Famer, and that's what he's made his Hall of Fame career on. Even with Seattle, he played some man, but the guy is just so good and he's so smart that still to this day he's an effective zone cover guy, even at advanced age.
Because he's so smart.
Exactly. And going back to like we'll even make an example last year with 6 minutes left in the Super Bowl, the 49ers had a double-digit lead, and there's 2 plays that stuck out that could have won them that Super Bowl. Is obviously Garoppolo missed Emmanuel Sanders and the deep throw. But remember when Sammy Watkins in man-to-man coverage burned Richard Sherman
Yeah.
because of his speed.
Yeah.
That was key. But, I think that the 49ers have the ability to, put pressure, especially if they play that wide nine system that they made famous last year. For those of you that don't understand what that is, that's essentially taking the defensive end on the strong side of the offensive line. And basically all he's doing is getting wide and just rushing the quarterback. He doesn't care about nothing else. So, it's a little bit more effective when you have D Ford and Nick Bosa.
Yeah.
I
Ideally.
was going to say, Bosa and Ford made that look easy. Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
But there's a couple guys that are, they're going to get paid after this year. I mean, one guy that sticks out in my mind from the 49ers defense is a guy I never heard of. His name is Kerry Hyder. He's got 7.5 sacks. He's making a $1.5 million this year. He signed a 1-year contract.
Kerry Hyder Jr. You got to throw the
He
junior
was all
in there, Danny.
over the place against the Rams. So,
Was he?
they got some effective guys. I think one of the key guys for the 49ers defense is Fred Warner. With most people, I'll sit here and argue till I'm blue in the face that he's the best 3-down linebacker right now in the league. He's so good at covering linebackers and slot guys. He's just very good. So I think that's just a couple things to watch. But I think it's, like I said, I think that the 49ers defense is going to win or lose the game for them. Like you guys were talking about, I think the Tennessee game, I think that's a potential. I think this could potentially turn into like a Tennessee game when the Bills play the Titans, or the Bills are just going to walk away with it. I think it's going to be, there's not going to be much in between.
Yeah,
So either a shocker or a blowout.
Yeah. Whoever scores the most points is likely to win.
That's a very
There you
Madden
go.
take.
What's that? Hold on. Everybody, we have a special guest coming in here. I think his name is Jarrod Reed. I think we actually have, 10, 15 minutes left in the show, and here he comes.
18
Ladies
minutes.
and gentlemen,
18 minutes.
18 minutes. There you go. When he comes on, we'll ask him real quick what he thinks about the 49ers game. We won't ask him about what he thought about the Chargers game. But since I got a minute, Swank, we were talking about Dable earlier and how there's 10 words that you can say in a row that describes him. And when us as Bills fans watch him call plays,
Yeah.
I can't say them all on here because there might be kids watching, but we've loved what he's done. We've hated what he's done. One of my what the hell is he doing moments this week was when Josh Allen got hurt. He got his knee all twisted up or his ankle, and he had a nice brace on it after later in the game.
Both ankles.
But when Barkley came in, the very first play with Barkley in there was a pass play. And a couple concerning things for Bills fans. You found out real quick that Barkley potentially is not the answer for number 2, and we might be in a rough spot if he has to play. And I don't think he knows how to use Barkley if he had to.
I think he was trying to, like, the thing with Dable is, like, he tries to be smarter than everyone else. You know what I mean? So you bring in Barkley, nobody expects him to drop back and throw a bomb except for Joey Bosa, who's, like, running with him the same pace as his 5-step drop and then smokes him as soon as he stops. Like, it was just kind of embarrassing to me. Like, you can't do that. you gotta figure that, maybe Josh isn't as bad. Hand the ball off. All game you're trying to establish this run game, and it was working. So, like, that's one of the things that frustrates me about him. He finds something that works, and he'll either abandon it because he's smarter than everybody else, or he'll just, like, run it down your throat until it's so predictable. There's just, like, these moments in each game, and you can find them everywhere. That Bees moment with the touchdown, amazing. I was just like, this play call is, like, the most insane thing, and it worked perfectly. And then you see, like, these designed runs that he's got for Josh Allen. Stop doing those. Like, you're gonna get him killed. It doesn't work out for him. You know what I mean? Like, he's better if he's, like, scrambling in the pocket, there's nowhere to go, and he just goes off instinct. I don't know. So, yeah, we were joking around about how, like, you could be like, Dable's, you stupid idiot, genius, amazing, moronic. Like, you can just switch it every 5 minutes, like, what your take on the guy is. So. What's up, Jarrod?
Hey, Jarrod. How are you?
Can you at least hear me?
We can hear you.
We can
can see you too.
We can both you.
We can both.
Oh,
Welcome to the show. I played host today. I didn't do too bad. Usually when I'm nervous, I talk a little quick and mumble, and it happens. But I think we got the gist of it. Alongi's been a great guest. We'll have to
Probably the
Hi,
best you've
guys.
ever had.
probably. But we got about 15 minutes, Jared. You want to tell us real quick what you thought? We hate to go back, but what you quick 2-minute thought about the Chargers game, and then tell us what you're concerned about. Not necessarily concerned, but what do you think about this 49er Buffalo Bills game that we play on Monday night this week?
All right, so I thought the Charger game went pretty well. I've spoken to other fans about how I feel. We lost the turnover ratio of 3-1, and we still won by 10 points. I feel like that shows if we hold on the ball. Can you imagine if we held on to the ball a little bit longer, or we didn't turn the ball over? It would have been a different score. But you can't play the what if game. I thought our defense played awesome. They were, the offense gave up the ball 3 times, and the defense was thrown out there on the field quick. They only allowed 17 points. I read a stat the other day. The Buffalo Bills, I think, have 29 sacks in the last 5 games, and they have 30 total. 29 sacks in the last 5 games, averaging just under 4 sacks a game, that means our defense is starting to pick up a little bit. So I was excited about the game, and we won 27-17. Can't beat that. And what was the other one? Concerns about this upcoming game?
Yeah, sure. Throw it out there.
All right. Let's see what I got here. Pros and cons. Warriors D-line should have a good game. I feel like Dan, what do you think? Defensive line should have a good game against your offensive line.
Your defensive line should have a good game against the 49ers offensive line.
In what regards, Jared? You gotta be more specific.
I don't see that at all, to be honest with you. I think the 49ers have one of the best offensive. I think the 49ers have one of the best offensive lines in football, and they're all pretty healthy. So,
is that the healthiest part of your unit?
Of my unit, that's a little personal, but yeah, the 49ers are probably pretty good. No, I think that we were talking about earlier the zone blocking scheme, the run game of the 49ers. I'm really interested to see how the Bills handle that. I really am. But yeah, I don't foresee that, to be honest with you. That actually hasn't even crossed my mind. Sorry.
So Jared, what part of the defensive line, what aspect of the game do you think they'll have an advantage over the 49ers?
I think
they figured some things out, and they know how to bring pressure on the quarterback now, and Mullins the backup quarterback.
I think the main factor is that we figured some stuff out, and our blitz game's kind of becoming better. So I feel like maybe I have written down that the defensive line is the key to success.
So let me ask you a question though.
Yeah.
So how much of the Rams 49ers game did you guys actually watch?
Was that this past week?
Yeah.
I watched the highlights.
So you saw the highlights. So one thing I wanted to point out with that, you're talking about how the Bills have seemed like they've been blitzing more and having more success blitzing. So what Shanahan's doing, because he's just such a good coach with such a depleted roster, is the one thing you'll notice he's putting Mullins in really good positions to be effective, but not do anything stupid. Deebo Samuel absolutely killed the Rams. He was probably the main reason that they won that game. And it was all traditional, typical West Coast 3-step drop, slant, 3-step drop, little fade. Same thing, kept coming back to him. Which, you know how it is, a 5-yard pass is just as good as an effective run.
Mm-hmm.
And now with Ayuk back, we were talking earlier how it's huge that they don't have Kittle, but I think that's what they're going to do. They'll take their shots. There'll be some situations where it's 3rd and 12, 3rd and 15. They'll have to do a 5-step drop and look downfield. But I think that Shanahan's done a really good job of putting Mullins in a position to succeed. Now he's not going to blow you away and win you the game, but he's not going to kill you and turn the ball over. So I don't foresee, if the Bills do decide to blitz a lot, I don't foresee that being a huge issue throughout the game. I think that I told these guys earlier, I think if Buffalo gets up early, I think that's going to be the biggest problem for the 49ers.
It's coming back.
So Dan, I got a quick question for you. Mullins right now has 6 touchdowns and 7 interceptions.
Yes.
More interception. what is causing these interceptions, these 7 that he's thrown? Is it just
So-
pressure interceptions, or is it just throwing the ball up and hoping your receiver comes down with it?
So he had an interception last game, and for example, it was that situation where it was 3rd and long, and he took a 5-step drop, and they did get to him. I think it was Aaron Donald, hit him as he threw the ball, and it was just a fluke thing. While he was throwing the ball, it just went, by the wayside up in the air, and the guys picked it off. It wasn't, just a free open field throw that he just screwed up. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
I mean, he's not killing them. You know what I mean? He's not making crazy, mistakes and stuff like that. He did have a bad game a couple weeks ago, but like I said, he doesn't have a lot of experience. He hasn't had a lot of snaps, so he's a very capable backup. But like I said, he's not going to go out there and win the game for you.
Yeah.
I gotta say, as far as like those the quick slant game and stuff, like the only thing that gives me optimism about all that is that Milano's coming back, and that's his whole game. Like, he's a cover linebacker, so you've given me hope, Danny. Thank you.
Dan, I have a question because I was more of a highlight guy too. Does the special teams scare you at all for your side? Because on our side, we've been waiting for our special teams, especially our kick returning units, to pop something. And from what I've seen, I feel like your special teams is struggling a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, all season there hasn't been anything crazy. I mean, their main kick returner is that Richie James. I mean, he's really fast. From a wide receiver standpoint, he's a traditional like slot guy. He's just really fast and small. But yeah, I mean, special teams wise, I mean, it hasn't done anything to really hurt the 49ers this year. But it's not anything that stands out that's like putting them in crazy positions to succeed either. So yeah, it's just it's there, but it's not kind of non-existent.
Kind of middle of the road for you.
Yeah. So.
Yep. All right. You got anything else to say, Jarrod, since you're joining a little late?
No, I just wish I was here earlier, but the kiddos were having little issues going to sleep, so we got to take care of that first.
It happens. We got about 10 more minutes.
You
Let's
better
talk
not pout.
You better not.
Let's go score prediction and bold prediction. Jarrod, since you're late to the show and I feel like you want to start talking a little bit.
All right, ready? Here we go. So
Fire
my
away.
score prediction for this Bills versus the 49ers. Before we go to that, I'd like to say that if we had fans in the stadium, I think it would be kind of a big uproar. But what do you think about San Francisco playing in Arizona, Danny?
I do not think with the current situation, I don't think it's going to affect either team at all.
Right,
Especially being on a Monday night.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to affect anybody. So may the best team win.
I have Buffalo traveling to Arizona, and they're going to win 35-14. And my bold prediction, and I don't know what I was watching. I could have sworn that while I was watching the highlights, I thought that the offensive line was allowing a lot of pressure with not too much, with just the front 4 or front 5 rushing. So my bold prediction I had written down was that the Buffalo Bills will get over that 5-sack game and get 5 or plus more sacks. That's what we're hoping.
You think about, you said Donald kind of tore it up a little bit, Danny, the defensive line for Rams. He kind of
when he wanted to.
No, he didn't tear it up by any means, but he was a factor in that one play that I was describing. Actually, it's quite amazing that, he's such a good player, but it does seem like even last year, the 49ers have just I got some 4-legged visitors here. The 49ers have actually done a really good job the last couple of years of handling Donald, which is pretty surprising. I don't know what it is, but they just seem to have owned the Rams over the last couple of years. But.
So, Jarrod, you have 5+ sacks. Swank, what do you think for this game?
For the bold prediction.
There you go.
I'm going with a Bills win as well. I think that it'll be a little closer than that. But I'm still going to say 31-21 Bills. And
Bills.
My bold prediction is that Diggs will get 2 TDs and get over that 1,000-yard mark this game.
Nice, yeah.
There you go. He's got
do it this week, but
he's got 55 yards to go.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So before we go to Dan's bold prediction, would you believe I'm picking the Bills as well?
No.
The score is similar to your, Swank. I got 35-21, and something that we haven't had all season. And with the Bills kind of establishing the run game last week, and even a little bit in the Patriots game. I think Singletary will have his first 100-yard rushing game for Buffalo. And I'm kind of excited for the rest of these next 5 games as far as the running game goes. He's got 483 rushing yards. I know it's a feat in itself to get 100 yards a game for the next 5 games, but if he gets 103 rushing yards each game, he'll hit that 1,000-yard mark, just so you know.
That's a reach.
Never going to happen.
I'll take it.
So 35-21, Singletary hits his 100-yard mark. Dan, what are you thinking, bud?
I'm going to go the 49ers. That's a shocker. I'm going to say 28-16. I think the Bills will get a touchdown, and I think the rest will be field goals. I think the 49ers defense is getting healthier. Like I said, I know there's a lot of replacements, but I think it's a defense that's built on speed, and I'm not sure if the Bills have really experienced that amount of speed, even though they are replacement players. My bold prediction is the 49ers as a team combine over 180 yards rushing.
Yeah, we don't want to hear that as Bills fans.
It's
pretty realistic.
Run game.
Hey, that's a good goal. It's a good goal. So Dan, what we also do, we used to pick the AFC games because it is such a tight matchup. Those Miami Dolphins are stingy, and they're right behind us. What are they? What's their record now? They're 7-4, so they're a game behind us. And like you said earlier, it might come to the last game of the season, Miami versus Buffalo. You know, back 25 years ago, those were the fun games to watch. Miami used to travel to Buffalo. It would be snowy out, and it'd be advantage Buffalo. But the fans were crazy, and the fans played a big part. But we cut it down a little bit. We're only picking the AFC East teams. We used to pick AFC East and the NFL upset. So the AFC East games, you may have not looked it up, but I'll tell you the teams, and then we'll each pick a winner. I have Raiders and Jets. Jarrod, we'll start with you.
Raiders.
And this is pretty quick, Dan. We usually just say who's
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say the Jets because they gotta win. They gotta win one of them. I mean, come on.
Yeah, and the way that Carr looked this last week, I'm gonna say that I'm gonna agree with Danny and say Jets.
Oh, you're going Jets.
Yes, sir.
Boy. I'm gonna go Raiders on this one. Just because Carr hasn't looked all that great, and I think this will be his redemption week.
And they're playing
Dolphins versus Bengals. Dolphins versus Bengals. Poor Burrow, he's out for the season, maybe out next season. So Dolphins are walking into something, a pretty nice situation as far as trailing us by 1 game. I do have the Dolphins beating the Bengals. What are you thinking, Swank?
Well, I'm creeping up on you two guys, so if these two go my way, then I'll be leading the pack here. So I'm going to go Bengals. Why not? Who cares?
Swank, can you tell us your quarterback? It's not Boomer Esiason.
The quarterback for the Bengals? I don't know. Can you tell me the quarterback for the Broncos?
I know, right? No,
I have somebody this week.
Von Miller before you know it.
I'm going Bengals too.
Damn.
Oh, there you go, guys.
I am going Dolphins.
There you go. I'm with you there, Alongi.
That's a safe pick.
Jarrod, you're on a computer real quick. Look up who the quarterback for the Bengals is. And then we have Chargers playing the Patriots. It'd be nice to just get a little more wiggle room in the AFC East. You could always root for the Patriots to lose, and that's what I'm doing. I am having the Chargers coming back after all these losses, these close losses, and the Bills just beating up on them. Herbert's going to get his win against the Cam Newton and the Patriots. What are you thinking, Danny?
I think I'd go Patriots on that one.
Okay.
Cam Newton had a heck of a game this past week, didn't he?
Blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while.
I was just going to say that.
Did you see that? Did you guys? We don't really discuss other teams much anymore, but do you see that late hit that they called that pretty much gave New England the chance to kick the winning field goal?
Yeah.
Yep. We also saw those two Josh Allen spinning the ball and Moss throwing the ball backwards, getting penalized too. So it's crazy out there. So Swank, what do you got? Did you already pick?
No, I didn't.
Go ahead. Who do you got?
I'm going to say Chargers. I think their record could easily be flipped. They're a good team. And even though Herbert didn't look I thought that our defense held him off really well, and he still put up 300 yards. So
Yeah.
I mean, I think next season they're going to be something to deal with for sure. So, Chargers.
He had 52 attempts, 31 completions, so he did pass the ball out. But Ryan Finley is the quarterback for the Bengals this week, I feel. Is that who you wanted to know, the Bengals quarterback?
Yep.
Wasn't he a shooting guard for the Phoenix Suns? Finley? Oh,
Charles Barkley is who you're thinking of.
All right. So, Jared, who do you got?
I said I'm at the Chargers.
Okay. You got all
Man, I
those
like that
records
Rice
now?
jersey back there. Has that got a little signature on it?
Sure do.
Nice.
Right there in the middle,
Yeah.
right between the eights. All right, my friends, that concludes the show for today. We'd like to thank everybody that watched and joined in. Jared joined in 5 minutes ago. Way to go. Obviously, we have a show every Tuesday, 9:30 p.m. Standard Eastern Time. We talk about the previous game a little bit, and then we'll talk about the game coming up. We have the 49ers this Monday. 8 o'clock. What time's their start time? 8:25. They always change it up on me.
8:15.
8:15.
Eastern
We're
Standard.
playing in Arizona. It'll be a good matchup. I think it's going to be a defensive heavy matchup. It'll be an interesting game to watch. Potentially, we can go 9-3. That'd be great.
But you won't.
But you won't. We got a lot to look forward to. Potentially, Milano's coming back. We've got a defense that appears to be catching their rhythm here. And my only concern would be Josh Allen. We got to watch that knee and see how he reacts to it. We'll see if he's wearing any artificial stuff around that knee this week.
Hey, the 49ers have Kiko Alonso apparently now on their team, so there's a little blast in the past for you.
Yeah, so watch our quarterback's
Yeah,
head.
no doubt.
Yeah,
Cheap shots.
Creepers. Any finishing thoughts from any of you guys?
I'll lead the way. All week. The last couple of days, I've been pretty high on AJ Klein. I feel like he's been playing very well in recent games, and I don't know how they're going to be playing him this coming up week. I'm hoping that they keep him where he is. You got to keep the hot hand, right? Am I jumping in and out? What are you guys laughing for?
I'm laughing because literally all I talked about earlier was how I hate that people are like, you got to play the hot hand with Klein because Milano's so much better. And you're like, I'll take the lead on this one.
I'll take the lead on this one. But no, I'm hopeful for Klein, and I hope he does well. I don't know if Milano's going to be able to come right back into the mix, but I hope bottom line is I hope Leslie Frazier comes up with a way to get those guys both in there and playing well. So there you go.
But Jared, it can't be predictable because we know Klein is better rushing the quarterback and run stopping. Milano is definitely better at the pass defense and covering tight ends and running backs out of the backfield. If you start putting these players in and the offense picks up on it and has an audible to adjust, we could be standing, with our feet in the sand, not being able to move. So
we'll see what Leslie Frazier does.
We'll see what Leslie Frazier does, but it's got to be something that's a consistent game plan that's not going to be predictable.
Yeah. Play the hot hand, Swank. Play the hot hand.
Swank, what do you got? What's your finishing thoughts here?
Well, I think you got to play the hot hand with AJ Klein, and I think you put him in at quarterback too, because he's the high.
Well.
Okay.
No, man, I think last week, everybody keeps saying ugly win. I don't know. I don't really see it. I wish Josh wouldn't have thrown those picks or that pick or whatever. I think it's a good spot. It's a tough AFC team that we beat, and now you're going into your primetime gauntlet for the next 4 weeks. And this would be a nice little statement game, and it's a stadium that you're familiar with. It's a routine that you're familiar with. I don't know. It'll be a really fun game, and I'm really looking forward to it. So good luck to you, Daniel Alongi, and your San Francisco 49ers. Also, if you want to join us every Tuesday night at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can do that right here on Facebook Live at 24/7 Buf Fandemonium, the K-Gun Report. This was episode 18, by the way, which is crazy. And if you want to check out the audio, you can listen to our podcast version of the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Anchor, and anywhere else that you get your podcasts.
I'll try to be
Thanks
here
for
next
listening.
week.
Dan, you got any thoughts?
Can I come next week?
You don't have to.
Do I have any thoughts?
Any final thoughts?
My final thoughts is from a 49ers fan standpoint. I think there's a couple names to really watch on the defensive side of the football. One of them's Jason Verrett, who's a cornerback. That's one of those guys that's performing really well, filling in. That's about to get paid this offseason. Kerry Hyder Jr., we talked about earlier, that had an outstanding game against the Rams. He's about to get paid this offseason. He's only making about $1.5 million. Fred Warner's Fred Warner. He's one of the best in the game.
Mhm.
And Javon Kinlaw, the first-round pick that they turned DeForest Buckner, they traded to the Indianapolis Colts, which was a smart move by John Lynch. Kudos to him, because all that young talent, you got to pay him at some point. They weren't going to be able to pay him. He's even wearing the same number that DeForest Buckner wore, and he's just a monster right now. He's playing really well. So.
Awesome.
And the 49ers win easily.
You talking about next week?
Yeah.
Not this week. But, yeah, again, thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. If you missed the show, definitely tune in, like Swank said, to Spotify and the podcast systems. Go Bills. We got a fun game coming up, Monday Night Football, prime time. We'll see you next week.
Go Bills.
JP Losman.
Go Bills.
Go Bills. JP Losman.